Over to Susan Green, please.
Okay, thank you, President Schefter. Pleased to introduce with me this evening, I have Mrs. Rita Shields, who is our Coordinator of Student Transportation, and Mr. Dave Levhart, who is one of our wonderful first student bus drivers. So we're going to go through a short presentation for you this evening. So objectives for this evening are we're going to talk about background with our student transportation system, review bus safety best practices for students and families, review our progress with the stop arm cameras that we purchased, and propose recommendations for next steps. So I will turn it over to Rita.
Thank you, Sue. Good evening, everyone. As you may know, we have a long-standing contract with First Student and a very good relationship, as I will add. They're not our employees, however, they are members of our team. They're also our very loyal drivers. First Student safely transports 2,973 students for both public and private school by using 27 big buses, 6 mini buses, and 5 vans. As you know, safety is our first priority. Children are growing and they're learning. They're even learning how to still get on and off of a school bus. Thank you. They're even learning how to still get on and off a school bus. Some of them are a little smaller than others, so it may take them a little bit of time, and that's okay. We encourage them to take their time when loading on and off of the buses. And sometimes that may cause a little bit of delays. When we do have delays, we do try to contact our parents timely. However, this is not always readily available for us to do. There are some situations that could arise. We've already experienced some weather conditions with heavy fog and heavy rain. In addition to traffic and construction, power lines down, our first goal and First Student's first goal is safety first. So a few tips we have for parents, especially when waiting for a school bus. Stay away from traffic, line up at least 5 giant steps away from the curb. Never, ever run after a school bus, especially when one's moving. Always walk at least 10 feet in front of the bus. This will allow the driver to maintain a visual aid of the students around. With that, Mr. Dave's going to jump in with some additional tips.
Okay.
My notes are somewhat bad, too. These are going to be tips for the parents and the students. Be aware, cross with care. Wait until the school bus has stopped all traffic before stepping out onto the road. In addition to that, always make eye contact with the bus driver and wait for the thumbs up before crossing in front of the bus. Unfortunately, we can never assume that vehicles will see you and stop. When the school bus is moving, always stay in your seat. Never put your head, arms, or hands out of the window. Talk quietly. Do not distract your bus driver. If your school bus crosses railroad tracks, be calm and quiet so that your driver can listen for a train. Always obey your school bus driver's instructions so that he or she can make safe decisions. Never play with the emergency exits. Backpacks, band instruments, or sports equipment may not block the aisle or emergency exits. If there is an emergency, listen to the driver and follow instructions. Did you know that our buses have between 7 and 10 emergency exits? Most people don't. They just think it's that door and the one in the back. You've got the roof hatches, you've got the windows that will break open. So, tips for parents and students more. When getting off the school bus, make sure that all drawstrings and other loose objects are secure so that they don't get caught on the handrail or the door. Never cross the street behind a school bus. Again, when you cross, look at the driver. They're going to assess the situation. They're going to give you the thumbs up when they think that it's clear, not when you think. If you leave something on the bus or drop something outside of the bus, never go back for it. The driver may not see you and begin moving the bus. When you look at a school bus, it looks like one big piece of glass in the front. but you've got supports that come up that are about that wide. And even though we're sitting in that seat and we're looking out that windshield, those are definite blind spots. We call it rocking and rolling. You're rocking and you're rolling back to get in front of and behind that. So, never speak to strangers at the bus stop and never get into the car with a stranger. Yeah. Turn that back over to you.
Alrighty, thank you, Mr. Dave. Let's take a minute to review school bus safety stopping laws. When you come upon a school bus that's stopped with the red lights flashing and the arms extended, you must stop. I'm sure you guys have seen this quite often. When you approach an intersection where a school bus is stopped and the red lights are still flashing and that stop arm is out, please make sure we're stopping. You must also stop at least 10 feet away from that school bus. You must wait until those red lights have been turned off and that front clip kind of rolls back in. Do not move until those red lights have stopped flashing. We want to make sure that all students are in a safe position before we move forward. Okay. We have two pictures up here of different situations that we're kind of looking at now. These are specific red light violations that Dave and I have been tracking, and I think they started tracking well to last year. We do encourage everyone, if you are not aware of when you should stop, if you're not sure to stop, just stop. It's not going to hurt to stop. In the first picture, you'll see a roadway with painted lines. All traffic must stop when children are loading and unloading on that bus. As I mentioned earlier, kids are still learning and growing. Sometimes kiddos drop items and we don't see that. If we're moving, we can't assess the situation. We want to make sure our kiddos are safely out of harm's way, so remember to always stop. The second picture to the right shows the school bus stop at an intersection. I think there's a lot of misconceptions around the specific locations. When a school bus is at an intersection and their stop sign is deployed, we must stop. All traffic must stop to obey those red lights on that bus. All right, Dave, we'll have Dave talk a little bit about increasing safety. Yep.
So, we are, okay. Continue educating community on our bus procedures. We're looking at various ways of educating our community. One of them is biweekly emails from our district transportation department focusing on various topics regarding bus safety. Flyers sent home with elementary students. And one we've been discussing a little bit, it's a little early right now, but we're calling it Summertime Fun Extravaganza, where it's dunk your favorite bus driver or not. We could stage some buses, we could get the parents and the kids on the bus, they could actually sit in the seat. Of course, we wouldn't have the key in there. We would have a volunteer on the bus to make sure nothing crazy happens. But they could get the feel of it and what they see, what we can't see, what all's involved in putting the amber lights on, the red lights on, things like that, and just explain what's going on. Having them look in the mirror at the back of the bus, maybe have some kids sit down so you can see. We can't see them because the seats are up high. The other thing, did you know that we activate our ambers between 150 and 300 feet before we stop? 150 feet is approximately the distance between utility poles. So that'll give you some kind of perception when we start and how far we can go. Sue will now talk a little about Act 159.
One thing I wanted to cover on this slide real quick is one of the things we're really looking at when we look at red light violations is we're focusing on those hot spots or high infraction areas. So one of the things that's very important to us is looking at whether we can relocate bus stops if we're having a lot of incidents and or reroute the bus so that the child gets off on the door side instead of having to cross the street. So we're really taking a look at any of those infractions and what we can do to maybe make that stop or location more safe. So now we'll talk a little bit about Act 159 of 2018, which allows school districts to have stop arm cameras to record those red light violations. This authorization is set to expire on October 24th, 2023, but we do believe it will be extended So we looked at stop arm cameras starting in June of 2022, and the board did approve the purchase of 3 stop arm cameras and associated hardware not to exceed $12,000. We did get those stop arm cameras. They ended up costing us about $8,400. And we worked with First Student to determine the best vendor, and we both agreed that Zentinel was the vendor that we would recommend. Ordered those cameras, and they were installed and in place at the beginning of this school year. But one thing as we're working through this and we put the presentation together that we want to remind people is a stop arm camera is actually not going to save the child when the person goes through the red light. So that's why we're looking at those other areas. We think they're important. They're kind of like a speed limit sign. They're hopefully going to slow you down or keep you from stopping, but if they do blow through, it's not going to save them. So we're really trying to get down to 0 infractions. That's really our goal. Mr. Dave?
Are we back up again? Okay. So, I did have a whole sheet on the last one, which I can actually add to this. These are our results to date, but before I get into that, I want to kind of recap where I was. I came here last March, and with a concern. So as most are aware, we have been tracking stop arm violations since December of 2021. Between December and May, we had 161 people that decided to blow through our stop signs. Now, these were obviously citizens and visitors. Our heaviest hitter reported 44 of these, 44 from one bus. We reviewed all of this data was put onto a spreadsheet so we could see the location, the bus number, if it was AM or PM, elementary or high, had a lot of very good information. So we reviewed our data and were able to clearly see our problem areas. We relocated stops, and I'm pleased to report that that bus has reported 0 incidents this year. We have had situations this year where we have relocated several more stops due to incident reporting. On a recent Sunday, Rita drove around New Freedom taking pictures of some of our dangerous stops, and those stops have been relocated. This will be an ongoing action item. We are committed to doing whatever it takes to keep these children safe. Our monthly number of incidents have been dramatically reduced compared to last year. November of this year is tracking to be the best month yet. We will continue to be vigilant in our reporting data, communicating with all the bus drivers, our school district, and the community. We will not accept anything less than 0 incidents. So now if we go back, school started on August the 17th. So that month we had 1. September, we had 12 visual incidents. We were able to capture 1 on video. So that brings us to a total of 13. Now when I say we were able to capture 1 on video, we have 3 cameras, but we are set up on 11 buses so we can unplug and mount. Unfortunately, you don't know where it's going to happen. October, we had 12. We were able to capture the video on 5 of them. That was a total of 17. So that brings us to 31 violations so far since August the 17th. Now, if you think of that number, February of last year alone, we had 34 1 month. So this is just amazing. That was also our highest in a month from last year. So we're doing everything we can as of right now. Every day that goes by, we're always talking. We're always thinking, hey, what about this? What about that? But the cameras are good. They capture excellent, quality. But again, that camera is not going to save anyone's life. We've got to be proactive and just keep thinking, move the stop, because that's where the data comes in. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dave. Some of the violations that Dave and I are tracking are making a left turn in front of a school bus, making a right turn in front of a school bus, passing on a straightaway, like a head-on. You'll be surprised at how many are actually straight on. which is alarming because you can actually see the car and the bus coming right at you. Also, we've had situations we're tracking where cars have actually went around the back of the bus on the right and to the left and to the right. Most recently, we've identified some in parking lots. So Wetzel's is a hot spot down here. There's cars not sure which way they should go or if they should go at all. So they go around the bus in the parking lot thinking that, oh, well, it's a parking lot, I can just go around. Intersections are also really hot spots that we're trying to target. Vehicles proceeding through, same deal, head-on intersections at a left way or a right way, either way. Again, educating our community, trying to understand that if you see a bus stop and you're not quite sure, just stop. Doesn't hurt to stop. We're going to roll into our recommendations and next steps. So we will continue to partner with First Student. Dave and I work, as he said, we talk every day about violations and types of things that we can do to mitigate risks for our students. We're highly focusing on that mitigation piece specifically because as they both have said, we can put as many cameras on as many buses as we want. Those cameras are not going to save lives. We are changing bus stops, bus routes. We're even designating some time to look at signs in the areas, driving through to see if specific bus stops have signs that are damaged or destroyed or you can't see them visually. So we're taking a look at that as well. We're also going to continue to build awareness with our partners in the community, our parents and our community.
So we met with a group from First Student of probably 6 to 8 folks, and Rita and myself, and we talked about, okay, what is going to be our recommendation going forward? Everyone agreed that we would like to hold on making a recommendation for additional cameras at this time. We had one camera we had to send back because it was not functioning properly. It wasn't turned the right way to capture the information. We have gotten it back. It's now working well. But we also want to see how they work during poor weather conditions, change in light, and we've not done a lot of moving them around at this point. We want to make sure that when we move them around, they work on all the buses. So we'd like to hold on additional cameras at this point. We've kind of all talked as a group, and I kind of said, what do you guys think? And so that was really from our bus drivers that they think we want to hold at this point, just to make sure we get more data. And what we're really pushing with the drivers is to please, even if you don't have much information on the vehicle that ran the red lights, we still want to know, because sometimes what our drivers were doing is, well, I didn't get the license plate, I didn't get a description, I don't know what kind of car it was. And so what we're saying to them is we don't necessarily care, like we'd love to be able to prosecute them, but more so we like to know where it is and what happened so that we can assess whether we can do something differently to prevent that. So any other thoughts you two have?
No, I think that's a key point. Location is everything. If we can identify those hot spots, we can definitely target it harder and figure out how we can mitigate the risk by moving those bus stops.
Questions? Mr. Brown?
Were there any citations issued based on the ones that were called?
Oh, well, we don't know that yet.
They're still working through it. So we give them, once they're captured on the camera, we give them to Officer Hanson, and he works through the process. If it's within his jurisdiction, then he takes care of it. If not, it goes to Pennsylvania State Police.
We're only notified once they just decide to have a court date and the driver is made aware because they usually have to show up.
Other questions?
Any other questions? Just a comment, I know Mr. Lebhart brought this to our attention at least a year ago, and now from your initial concern to where we are now is just phenomenal. So thank you again for having the drive and the initiative to come out and bring this to our attention. And it was a very informative presentation. Thank you, Ms. Shields, and you, Ms. Green, also, because this is what we like to see when a serious concern like this is raised, and then we're a year down the road, how much it's improved. So keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.